Hey, welcome to Life After My Stroke. Somebody said something to me today that I wanted to share with you. They said they really appreciated my posts on stroke. There are some people out there who pretend to be positive, but they don't believe it. It's almost like the positivity facade is there to mask the pain they feel. But they believe that I am truly feeling optimistic and positive about my situation, and they like that. And I really, really, really appreciated that. That meant a lot to me because the last thing I ever want to come off to anyone is bullshit. I want to come off as sincere because I am being sincere. But it kind of got me thinking maybe I ought to try to explain myself a little bit because I don't think I've ever done it. The short version of why I am positive about this is because there was a time in my life where I felt like I'd lost everything. And then it turns out that I got a lot of stuff back. Not everything, but a lot of stuff. And I was very thankful for that. That's the short version. The long version goes something like this. So I had a stroke one night, and I didn't know I had a stroke. I thought I had an ear infection or something. So I went home and went to bed. Well, the next morning I was woken up. Ambulance was on the way. Family called the ambulance. They were worried about me. I tried to get up and I couldn't. It was almost like I was completely paralyzed on the right side, which wasn't particularly true. I could still kind of move my fingers and kind of move my toes, but it was so weak. It was there, but it was very weak. And I was light sensitive. I could see, but I was light sensitive. And then the ambulance came, and the ambulance people were really nice, and they were really calm, and they kept calling in on the radio, and they were using a lot of codes. They weren't outright saying anything. It was code this, code that. Got me in the ambulance right away. They shipped me off to the hospital closest one, which I don't know, it was like maybe 2.5, 3 miles away from my house. And my eyes are closed the whole time. The light is just killing me. So I'm not really seeing what's happening. But I moved from the ambulance to the ER rather seamlessly, it seemed. And I get in there, and they're like, well, someone will be right with you. And if you've ever been to the emergency room for anything other than stroke, you know that that doesn't happen. But someone was there immediately. They were there right away. They did whatever they had to do, whatever that was. And then they said, hey, we're going to go do our thing now. Someone else is going to come in and see you. Just please be patient. Immediately, somebody else was there. This went on for several hours. It might have gone on all day. I don't know. My time realization of, I guess, that particular day is not great. But if you've ever gone to the hospital for anything, you know that you go in there and you're like, oh, I cut myself open, working in the garage. I'm bleeding. And they're like, yeah, so what? Go sit down. And you sit there for half an hour. And then they finally call you in, annoyed that you're even there at all. You sit in this ER room for a half hour, and a nurse comes in. She looks at you like, yeah, bring the doctor in a little bit. The doctor shows up 45 minutes later, stitches you up, and you go home. That's usually how it works. It's never a situation when there's always somebody right there. And that's when I knew I was in trouble. That's when I knew something was really wrong with me. This is critical. This is urgent. People are there constantly. And I was so tired. And there were things happening I didn't tell people about because they were already poking at me. Like swallowing. I couldn't swallow very well. I was choking on my own spit half the time. But I was really trying to control it. And my breathing, sometimes I felt like I wasn't breathing like I should be breathing. Like, oh, I didn't breathe. Well, maybe if I force myself to breathe, take a breath in, do this a few times, it'll kick back in. And sometimes it did. So, in the meantime, things are getting weaker and weaker. The doctor's saying, move your fingers, and I can, barely move them, and I'm looking at the doctor. It hurts, but I'm looking at the doctor. And it's a very long day. And I go to sleep, and I get up the next day, and I have complete paralysis. My body's tingly. Everything on the right side is tingly. Like if you've been shot up with Novocaine, and it's starting to wear off, but it hasn't quite worn off yet. So you're not numb, but you're not right yet. And it's a tingly sensation while this transformation is happening. It felt like that if the whole right side of my body was going through that particular sensation, and on top of that, you could take plastic wrap and wrap the whole right side of my body. So when you touch me, it feels like you're touching me through plastic wrap as the Novocaine's wearing off in my mouth. Try to explain that to a doctor when you're exhausted and you haven't had 3 years to come up with a good analogy for how you feel. Are you numb? Kind of. What do you mean, kind of? Well, not completely, but yeah, but I can you feel this? Yeah, I can feel it, but it's just not, well, are you numb or not? Yeah, I won't get into the whole doctor thing. That was just annoying. So anyhow, the next day I've got nothing. And I can't focus on anything. I am what they call legally blind. Everything looked like a kaleidoscope and it was painful. So I insisted on complete darkness in the room, plus I wore dark shades. I asked someone to bring me shades because even a little bit of light hurt. I didn't know what my nurses looked like. I had no idea. I wouldn't look at them. It was just too painful to open my eyes because I couldn't, like I said, couldn't focus. This whole thing with my swallowing is getting worse. And my breathing is getting worse. And they had me on oxygen. They asked, do you want oxygen? I'm like, yeah, I'll take oxygen, please. I didn't want to tell them there was a breathing problem, but I'm glad I had the oxygen. So I'm laying there, and I'm just, completely conscious in my head. But my body is, like, shutting down. Everything is getting slower, and everything is kind of winding down. And I went through some real heavy stuff. I started thinking about, wow, what should I be worried about right now? Because you know what? I'm fading. I'm a DJ, and we use volume controls a lot. You turn things down, and eventually you get to a point where you've turned it off. Kind of felt like that's what was happening to me. It's like, well, I could worry about my kid, but you know what? My kid and I have a very close relationship. I'm the parent that understands her the most because she thinks like I think. And her mother loves her and is good to her, but I understand her. I get her, and we're very tight. It's going to be very hard on my kid, but she'll be all right. She'll get through it. This is just something that she's going to have to deal with. And what about my parents? And what about my girlfriend and all of these people? They're going to be okay too. It's going to be hard, but they'll get through it. And I'm okay. I mean, I'm okay with this, and I want them to know that I'm okay, so they're not worried about me. I've accepted this, completely accepted this, and I've led a good life, and everything is cool. But I'm winding down. This is it. This is it. I am done. I didn't tell anyone this. I told everybody I'm okay. I'm going to be fine. Don't worry about me. But I also said, please, just as long as you're okay, I'm going to be okay. So just tell me you're okay. Like, yeah, we're okay. So I'm not in pain, except for the eyes. But, I'm fine. I'm not upset. I'm at peace. And I was. And this went on for a day or two. And then things started to kind of kick back in slowly. Not my movement, but my breathing and my swallowing got better. My speech improved because that was affected too. I wasn't as tired anymore. I slept a lot, but I could listen to TV. I listened to a lot of House. House was on TV. I couldn't see it, but I heard it. And they didn't diagnose my stroke for 3 days, by the way, so I kept wishing that Dr. House was my doctor because maybe he could figure this shit out. These other doctors can't. And then, a few days later, I started to see better. Wow, now I can not only listen to TV, but I can watch it. You know how happy I am about that? Basically, at this point, I'm convinced I'm not going to die. So I went from, I'm going to die and I'm cool with it, to, I'm going to live, not the way I did before, but it's better than nothing. And I appreciated that, and I still do. And every day, I get new improvements. And every day, I do things that maybe a year ago I didn't think I was going to be able to do. I just keep improving. That's a good thing. I mean, who cares about the guy who was physically, a little over 3 years ago? My 3-year anniversary was just the other day. I don't care. I'm still here. And I'm able to do the things that are important, the real important things. Running a marathon isn't important to me. Playing football is not important to me. Jogging is not important to me. That is superficial stuff to me. What's important to me is being able to be a father, to provide for my family, which I can still do, to be able to think, to be able to have relationships with people, and to just help wherever I can. Anyone who who needs me. Like maybe some of you. Maybe this helps you. I work with a lot of DJs too. I help my family. That's what I do. That's my job. And as long as I can still do that, I'm cool. And like I said, I'm still here. That's why I'm positive. Don't mourn the loss. I appreciate the gifts. Take care of yourself.